Welcome to The Perfect Balance, where this is the podcast where we discover your symptoms are not the problem, with your hosts, Eva Vennari, Dr. Heather Kneale, and Leslie Brown. Join us as we jump right into this episode.
Welcome in. This is The Perfect Balance, where we talk about how your symptoms are not the problem. My name is Eva Vennari, founder of the Elevate Institute, and I help high performers overcome adrenal burnout.
And I'm Dr. Heather Kneale. I am a co-founder and CEO of Global Nutritional Healing. We have a school that offers certificates in mineral balancing.
And I'm Leslie Brown, creator of the Stress Relief System, where we empower high-achieving men to effectively manage stress so that they can sustain peak performance levels at work and at home.
Yeah. So last time we talked about this beautiful place of like resilience versus our awareness, and it ties right in with this one because sometimes we're not aware that we're not out of balance. And so people think they hear about this program or they hear about how it makes sense to them and they immediately go, I don't need that, but I think I have a friend who does.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh, but it's so true.
So if you don't have symptoms, why would you do mineral balancing? Wow. Let's talk about that. Where should we start?
Number one, prevention. I mean, you do want to prevent. Most of us have things that are starting to creep up, and we learn to live. Because it's not like drastic. Usually, it's not drastic. It's a slow progression of energy decreasing, skin problems, and getting worse. Your whatever you're dealing with, your thyroid blood work is getting worse and worse. There's things that are getting worse, but we're so used to, pushing through and just, we can do this. We just think that we have no symptoms. That's one. That's another side to the whole conversation, is that we don't have any symptoms. But the other one is just prevention. I know for me, I have a whole family full of people with cancer. I didn't even meet my dad's side of the family. His brother, his dad had passed before he was 9 years old. His brother passed when he was 40. So we have tons of cancer in our family. My mom's had cancer. My dad died of cancer. So we have that big, I think I've got it out there. It's cancer, but so for me, I'm staying on this program the rest of my entire life. And one of my motivations is that I want to prevent getting one of those disastrous diseases if I can. I know there's no guarantee, but I'm going to sure do the best I can to prevent it. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Prevention is for sure. And then there's also this idea, isn't feeling like this normal for my age?
Oh, yeah. You should be tired if you're 40. Everybody at 40 should be exhausted because you don't sleep well. You have a job that keeps you really busy. You have 5 kids. You are supposed to be, your life's pretty much over at 40. I'm sorry.
No,
right?
Stop it. So
I'm just teasing.
I know. I went to go get my eyes tested at Costco because I don't go to the doctor, and I just wanted to see if I had glaucoma, anything going on that I couldn't test for myself. And so I'm almost 50, and she puts up the little screen and puts all these things in front of me, and she's like, okay, read the bottom line. And I'm like, made in China.
You're like, oh, she can see that really well.
Flipped around. She's like, how old are you? She was checking the chart. She's like, you're not supposed to see that well. What are you doing? Oh, okay. Anyways, I'm just having a fun moment. But that's the truth. We think that we get us to a certain age and we're like, oh, we're supposed to feel bad. We're supposed to feel off. We're supposed to lose our eyesight. We're supposed to get wrinkles. We're supposed to get gray hair. Premature aging is not aging gracefully. And that's what we're after, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Prevent it and reverse it. I had a lady that was 85 years old, started the program. She had no hair, just the whole top of her head was bald, and then it was just around the sides. She had gray hair. And so she got started on the program. And really, she didn't get on the program for her hair. She got on it because she was an artist and her hands were starting to bother her. She's a beautiful artist. And so she got on the program, and with a year and a half, she sent me a picture. Oh, God, I wish I had it out right now. She sent me a picture of her. She had a full head of black hair. Not only did she get rid of all of the baldness, but she got her color back. It was black. Her hair was black. And I've had other people, I don't ever guarantee it, because like Eva and Leslie have said in other talks, is that your body kind of goes in its own order. That might not be a priority, not until much later. But we have seen that, where their hair starts getting stronger and healthier. So that's what happened. It was total reversal. That's anti-aging right there.
Yeah. What do you say about that, Leslie, when you hear somebody go, oh, I don't have any symptoms, I don't need this?
Yeah, well, and especially when they say point at their friends. So, well, what do you think your friends need it for? And they list those symptoms. I said, well, don't you want to make sure that that doesn't happen to you? We better test and do preventative measures to make sure. But the other is, I had a doctor that happened to recently. She just knew she was in great health. And I said, oh, let's give it a go. And it turns out she's like a little speed demon, boom, 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 and she has very high mercury toxicity. Pescatarian. So nothing wrong with fish once a month right now because it's so full of mercury. And she just runs anyway. So I showed her a test, and she's having a hard time talking to me right now because it shook her paradigm so much, thinking that she was fine. So if you want to convince yourself you're fine, this probably isn't a great test for you.
But talk about why mercury is a bad thing for her or anybody. Like, this is a good thing to know. Like, why is it bad to be mercury toxic?
Well, mercury toxic and copper toxic too, right? It just works on the nervous system so much. It can interfere with the brain thinking functions, interferes with the synapses firing between cells. But the agitation on the nervous system was a really big one that I experienced personally and that I see in her. And we pick it up and we don't even realize it. We don't even think of those things as symptoms. And I've got a couple more points, but did you want to add anything on mercury toxicity there? Okay, because that's like a big deal. But the other thing is what you guys are bringing it up about. I remember my hair used to be, it's soft now, but it was so, it hurt the hairdresser's hands when she cut it because it was so much like straw. And I'd been on 90 medications a day for 12 years and it was coming out through my hair. And they felt it was, literally like little needles. So some of that, when hair starts to change, skin starts to wrinkle, you feel like you move a little bit slower. We have accepted those things socially as acceptable part of aging. And what Eva was bringing that up about aging is really when these illnesses or these toxicities or these imbalances literally wear us down, and you can reverse things. So I know, Eva, you're saying you're approaching 50, right? Yeah. So at Christmas, I'm going to be 70. Woo! And I look a lot different than I did 20 years ago. That's just a great fact is the point. Thank you. But it's the reverse aging is what I'm talking. My skin looks plumper. If you see me in person, it's got better color. The pores are closed. I used to have huge pores in my skin. And now I think my body was gasping for air, but now I'm getting what I need. And so it's changed the complexion. My hair is so much different than what it used to be. And I have friends or family who look like little wrinkled prunes. And I just want to say, you guys, you can change that, but that's got to be a mindset change. Again, we've got to understand that these things that we don't see are taking a toll on us. And just because we're not experiencing symptoms doesn't mean they're not there. It may mean we not know how to recognize them as symptoms, like ridges in the fingernails or hair tissue changing or breath.
Eyebrows not growing. Yes.
Eyebrow, good, excellent, right? Cavitation, teeth cavities, all these things, we may not know how to recognize them as symptoms. We think of them as a regular course of life when they're really not. So I like to encourage people to say, think of this as one more tool in your toolbox, one more way of checking out, making sure your body's okay. So let's just give it a go and see. And then that's eye-opening. And sometimes, as I said again, for this friend of mine, and she's a friend who's a doctor, it's very shaking. And we don't want it to be shaking. We want it to help you build awareness and to understand that you just may not be recognizing symptoms or be able to feel them because you're out of balance.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one. Being able to feel them, feeling numb because of the level of, usually it's a calcium shell that we see on a hair test. Yeah.
We're both
So we
all
can easily
calcium
see that. Yeah,
shell.
I know the shell. So this just means when we look at it, and I don't have one in front of me. Oh, I do. Here, hold on.
The
This shell.
calcium.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man. I'm
So
going to cover
glad.
up the name and see if we can do this. So over here, I'm
The
sorry,
far
I've
left.
got my filter on.
It's okay.
That's
There it is.
calcium. And
You
the
can see it
calcium
all the
should
way up
stop
off.
somewhere here, but this is off the charts. This is like a 227, which is like, I would need more paper. So this is when the body
Right.
actually shuts down your nervous system using calcium as imagine a shell around your nervous system. And it says, we think that you'd probably go insane if you felt that I talk like the body has a personality. So we think you'd go insane if you had to feel all of your symptoms. So we're going to put this calcium shell around your nervous system so that you don't feel all of the symptoms. And that could be why you're not feeling symptoms, but actually could be so way out of balance. And the only way to know is to put your money where your mouth is.
Invest in yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't tell you how
Right.
many athletes and Adonises who go to this and they look buff and they look great. And then they're like, oh, I only have allergies. Really? And the, like your doctor friend, they kind of disappear after they realize, oh, I didn't know I was that toxic. Yeah, workouts don't detox you. They get rid of, they help your circulatory system. They help with your muscle tissue and strength of the body. They have nothing to do with detoxing. Like you can either heal or you can work out. And I'm getting on my soapbox. But anyways, that when it comes to
Further drain your minerals. Yeah.
yeah. You can over exercise. And I think we should do a talk on myths about exercising. So we'll
We
do that
really
another
should.
You know
I'll
what?
add also mercury. I'd like to do them on different metals because there's a lot that people don't know that, I mean, mercury, I didn't jump in because there's literally hundreds of symptoms that can be related to that neurotoxin.
Yep.
So
Let's
the
do it. We'll do a
people
special.
shaking of the hands. I mean, and people think it's just normal. And if their
Yeah.
hands are shaking, it's mercury, or eating fish 3 to 4 times a week, and you see it on the hair test. I mean, I just had somebody this last year, so she's having mental and shaking issues and been working with me for years. Fish,
Yeah. And whatever is coming out of your system as a result of doing this healing work, it's going to be in your bloodstream while it is leaving the body. And that means you're at effect of it. It does not mean you're getting worse. And that's why it's always so important to go, I'm not sure, Eva, if this is, or, Heather or Leslie, I'm not sure if this is related to being on the program or not. We want to know because we have experience to say, oh, that was in your history or that was on your test and this is probably coming out right now and you're at effect of it and those are the symptoms it's related. So get somebody who knows what they're talking about when it comes to these things. It's like you may brush it off because that's what you've been doing your whole, who knows, adult life, maybe even all the way through childhood. This is something I can ignore. This symptom is something that is easy to just say, you know what, I need a nap, or I'm going to go get a coffee and stand in Starbucks for 2 hours, or I'm going to take a Red Bull and get more energy, or listen to some music and hype myself up. All of these things could make it worse for your body to try to overcome. And so that's why you probably are toxic, because you're a human being on the planet living in a world that is full of toxicity, and it doesn't matter where on the planet. I have clients in Peru and in Dubai, and Dubai is definitely, worldwide, but you think Peru, you think pristine, right? The girl I tested, she could have been my next door neighbor here in Los Angeles. I mean,
Wow.
she was so toxic. Yeah. So toxic. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world.
Doesn't. You may have put calcium shell on there because when you're talking about how it numbs you out, I was remembering that before I got on the program, I could touch hot cookie sheets in the oven with my hands and not realize there was an issue until they started to blister. I touch them and I go, oh, I probably need a hot pad or something. So I'd reach for one and then later I'd blister. I go, oh, I guess that hurt me worse than I thought.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Really.
Similar here. I remember breaking my wrist, I had a compound fracture, the bone came out. And I was it was a little bit of pain, but I mean, they couldn't give me any pain meds at the hospital because I was on a list of no pain meds because I had allergic reactions. So they did a traction physical. They tried to put me in traction. They had a doctor holding one arm and an assistant holding the other, trying to get it back in the bone. And
Oh my gosh.
I was not in pain. So my calcium shell when I started, I think was in the 500 range. So
That's fine.
there we go.
You're
The
reminding
benefits
me,
of a calcium shell, none. There's none really.
you're reminding me of a client who is suddenly, after only being on the program for about a month, he's suddenly becoming more aware of hotter, like things are a little bit more extreme in his sensitivity. And I'm now thinking, I'm looking at his chart. It's not a huge copper shell, but I mean a calcium shell, but maybe he's detoxing and it's rising. Yeah.
Yep,
So
exactly.
just now realizing that could be the issue. See,
Right. No, I
Body-
had symptoms. Yeah, I had symptoms for years and years and I ignored them. You know, I mean, I didn't ignore them. I was taking lots of medications and lots of things like that. And I do remember not wanting to be aware of how tired I was. I remember trying to do everything to not look at that. I kept teaching, you know, kickboxing and weight training. I was an exercise fanatic. And goodness, I should not have been. I never sweat, you know, I just like, oh,
Oh,
I never sweat. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, you're so healthy. No, my skin didn't work. No. My largest eliminating organ didn't work. So I wasn't sweating.
same with me.
Yes. So, but I
Really?
just thought I just kept pushing and like, you know, watching my parents and, you know, other people. I didn't hear anybody talking about other things. So I just thought, just keep doing it, keep going. And I knew deep down I was tired. I mean, I knew, but I just kept going. So, and I don't know, I guess that awareness, because I'm thinking of other people with these symptoms. And when they say, oh, you could do that, maybe they're so afraid that if they look at their own symptoms, they're going to just collapse. Because I was afraid at times, you know, I'm like, I just got to keep teaching. If I missed 2 days of working out, teaching, exercise, my family was miserable because I was mean.
But-
Nasty.
so it was a
you know?
crutch. It was a crutch
Right.
to keep you keep the unhealthy body moving in the right direction, or what it seemed like a right direction, because it overcame the symptom of moodiness.
Oh yeah. My husband's like, okay, if we're gonna go on this vacation, we have they were so in tune. We have to find a gym. We have to find, you know, Heather has to be able to do this. She has to work out for 2 hours a day so that we have a happy vacation.
Make her run behind the car on the way, huh? Oh my gosh.
Vacation. What did you mean by that? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's actually a
I
good
run yesterday. What are you talking about? You know.
I think that's a good question for people, like especially I had one guy who's, I don't know, biking 25 miles every day or something like that. And the question, well, what happens if you don't do that?
Yeah.
Because exercise can be an addiction, just like anything else, which is forcing the body to do something that it's not naturally inclined to do. I'm curious, when you talked about rest, I noticed that I would let myself now take more naps or go to bed earlier than I would in the past, and I refuse to push, or I will notice maybe by sometimes 2:30, sometimes 4. If I start at 6 in the morning, 2:30, or I get up naturally early now, but maybe 2:30 to 4:30 in the afternoon. If there's a lull, I'll take a walk or maybe a 10-minute nap, or stop working and do something else entirely different to get my brain in a different path. How about you guys? Have you noticed? Because that tiredness is a big one. I remember the doctor asking me, are you tired? And I started crying, which I'm not a crier. And I said, yeah, I've been tired my whole life. And I didn't realize the truth of that till many years later. Eva?
Yeah, no, it feels, it's like a tank that you somehow tap into emotionally in the center core. At least that's how I feel it. And I just feel empty. Or like when I was that way, when I was adrenally burnt out, I felt like there was nothing left to give. Like, don't ask me for anything, because I'm here to exist at this moment, and that's it. And that's a terrible place to be if we can't engage in our own lives. It really does affect you, and it creeps up on you to the point where along the way, you're making the little sand, the line in the sand. Well, I'll let myself stay up a little bit late this time, and then it turns into a habit. Oh, I'll go ahead and take on that extra responsibility that the school wants me to because my kids will do better, blah, blah, blah. And that becomes a habit. Now you look back and you're like, oh man, I'm doing way more than I should be. Or maybe you're picking up slack for one of your friends or family members, and they realize, oh, she's really good at this. She can continue taking up my slack and continue taking over the project. We burn ourselves out through this. I'm a good person and I can do good, and I don't have to. I want to be useful, and so there's all of these mindset things that come into play, and we think that this is normal, and it's not. It's not normal to feel bad or to feel miserable in the body, and that fatigue is real. It's real. It's nothing that a nap, like if you take a 2-hour nap, you can sleep for 2 weeks. Adrenal burnout does not recover with a nap.
It's very common, but it's not normal.
Yeah.
Very common. Yeah.
That's my line.
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Oh, do you say that?
Good.
Oh,
It's on
good.
my website. Yeah.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
Important. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one. That's a very
Yeah.
good one. Well, and sleep, you need energy, so
Yes.
I know Dr. Eck talked about that. I don't remember what book. And I think Eva, you brought that up in another talk, is that, you do need energy to sleep. It sounds so counterintuitive, but it's not. It's really not, because you're repairing when you sleep. So the more you try to sleep, your body's like, I don't have the energy, and you feel worse, so you have to do, sleep a little, but you might need to take more little naps, so it's not, so that the whole plan with our program is to improve your energy. That's the human energy. That's what this science is.
Yep.
And so when you improve the energy, you can be the person that you want to be really, like Eva was talking about, you want to say yes to these people. You want to, you get more energy, and then all of a sudden you might be able to say, no, I have the strength to say no to you. And it's not their fault that you're saying yes, it's your fault. So we have to learn to say, no, I've taken on a little too much, and right now, and that's not really good timing, or maybe you wanted to write a book and this is me, scattered. I was so scattered because my energy, I could never stay. I mean, oh my gosh, just like I jumped, boom, 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 learned a little bit of this, do a little bit of this, and never stuck anything because I didn't have the energy to finish it. And or the concentration, or whatever you want to think it. I'm not completely sure what it was, but it was low energy is the main problem. So then when I got more energy, it was like I could focus on certain things and actually finish them. And all those projects were not the ones that kind of fell by the wayside, that were really not that important to me.
Yeah. Well, you're making me wonder how many people have been diagnosed with ADD or ADHD and actually just needed more mineral balancing.
2/3 of the population. 1 out of every 2 male
Right.
babies, I think, is the newest statistic. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, yes.
And
Right.
they're told
Totally.
to take this stuff that puts more metals in their brain and messes them up even further. Oh yeah, it's bad news. A lot.
Yeah, so I think we're basically cutting through an illusion that anybody who hears this message, if you're listening and watching, then, and you're thinking, oh, I don't need this, but my best friend Susie does, or my daughter does, or my dog. I have had that. I've had people I'm speaking to, obviously it's not to the dog, here in Beverly Hills, and she's like, oh, wow, this sounds really neat. I think my dog needs you. And I'm like, girl, you just listed like 15 things that you've got going on. Oh, but my priority is my dog.
Wrong priority. I mean,
Yeah,
it's great. Do both,
that's what I told her. I said, you can do both. She said, I would have the money for both. And again, it's priority. So we have this illusion that nothing can be wrong with us. That's another thing. It's like, oh, I don't have symptoms. No, you do. You're just lying to yourself about it. And I hate to be harsh. No, I don't. I'm being harsh on purpose. It's like, let's be real. It's not going to get better on its own, especially if you ignore it. And why would you wait to find some symptom to pop up into your experience? Like I have, 2 months to live with it. Was it, Heather? I have months to live. Why would you wait for that in order to take action for your body? This is it. You don't get a new one at 55. You don't get new teeth at 90. You don't get, you don't get it. This is how you renew the body, is give
Right.
it the minerals that it needs. And by thinking that you don't have symptoms or don't have anything wrong is a misstep. You're tripping yourself. So my harsh words for the moment.
Well
Yeah.
said.
Thank you.
Well, and most there are not most, but there are a lot of symptoms that are you won't even feel. Most people don't even know. Heart, I mean, that's a big one. Heart problems. You know, people don't even know they have them until they have a heart attack. They don't get, you know, very few people. I mean, some people might get like some heartburn or some, you know, feelings or things that might be or back pain or something that might be a clue, but they might not put it together. But most people that have these kinds of things, they may not be aware of them until they actually have the end of the problem, the heart attack or the diabetes or, you know, those kinds of things. And so that's why we're here today. We're trying to encourage people to take action, try to do it much sooner than I did, please.
Yeah, no kidding. Because being symptom-free does not mean you're healthy. That is not the benchmark for health. And I can't say that enough, and I could probably get really strong about it. I can't tell you how many people wait way too long, including all of us, because we didn't know. But now there's no excuse. If you're sitting here listening to this.
Right.
Well, there's something about falling in love with a diagnosis too.
Oh, good one.
Is that you just hang on to that. Oh, no, I can't do that. I've got ADHD. I already know what I've got. I can't produce whatever it is, the dopamine, the serotonin, the endorphins, whatever it is, right? Whatever they tell you. That's like, okay, your minerals are not there, and the minerals are needed for your body to create or produce these hormones or these chemicals or whatever is needed. That's what's, from our perspective, at the bottom of it. And then they fall in love with the diagnosis and just can't let go of it. Oh, I've been diagnosed with this and this is what I need to do. I know. And you're telling us, well, just about every diagnosis you've come up with, we would associate with mineral imbalances as well. Doesn't mean you have to get off of all your medications. You should always discuss that with your prescribing physician.
Yeah.
But that would be our goal, is to help you get off of that stuff and restore your body's ability to heal itself. But it needs the raw materials to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, when your identity gets mixed up with a diagnosis, then there's kind of no talking a person out of it, because then if they don't have the illness, who are they?
Right.
So it's a scary little place to be, which is why, a lot of the work has to be done in the internal space. That's a lot of the work that I think all of us do on some level, but I have a whole program on that, and it's just about getting in touch with who you are so that you can put your foundation on that, not on a diagnosis. And it makes a huge difference. I can't tell you the number of Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups who are all about the invisible illness and the diagnosis of things like chronic fatigue and anxiety and insomnia. It's not something that puts you in a wheelchair. You can't really see it, but it's there and it's viable and it needs to be dealt with. And I hear this all the time. Oh, Eva, you don't understand. It runs in my family. My sister has it, my brother has it, my mom has it. And I'm like, yeah, that's called congenital. It's passed from mother to child in the womb. They don't want to hear it. It's like so they're still stuck on the identity that, no, I'm broken and I'm okay with that. And I like to live a lesser life. Wow. How do you overcome that?
Yeah, it's tough. You know, it is tough because they have an identity with it, you know, and if I don't know who it was. I think it was a doctor that was working with somebody with severe depression and had been in their family. And the whole family had depression, and they got started on the program because of that. I don't remember all the details, but I do remember that they got started on the program and they started feeling better, more energy, happier, and people started noticing. So no longer were they have all these nicknames. I think I don't remember where she worked, but when she went into work, they weren't calling her like the Black Cloud and all these things that she was used to being called. So she ended up quitting the program. And that is a case in point of having the identity of your diagnosis or of a symptom that, she could have really had improved energy and improved her life, but for years and years of whatever her thinking process, it's kept her stuck, that she had to be that black cloud, right?
Yeah, who am I if I'm not the black cloud? Now I have to do
Right.
some inner work. Now I have to change how I think about myself and change. I mean, that's a huge issue. A lot of people don't like change.
Right.
I think of it as responsibility also again, they're not used to it. It was easy to give my life over to the illness, but
Mhm.
it's not so easy to take responsibility for living my own life. So I just think the program, people wake up for it and become aware that's what we're all about. And if not, bless them and wish them well on their way.
Right.
Because it takes too much energy to try and well, anyway, it's an inside job anyway. They have to do the work. And when they're ready, we're here for them. But when they're not ready, nobody needs to waste time. So we look for the people who are ready and very interested in moving forward, because that's what we're doing with our lives. And we're glad to be there for other people who want to do the same.
Well, and we were all seekers too. We were seeking, we were looking for information. We were not giving up on the, okay, it ends with a diagnosis and it ends with a medication. That was not an acceptable answer for any of us, right?
Right.
And I think that's the difference too, is it's just this idea that we had, if we give the body what it needs, it can heal itself. And that's a very Eastern thought. So again, it's like we're breaking through this whole construct that I'm fine because everything's normal according to other people. I'm normal for my age. It's normal for me to feel this way. No, it's not. No, it's not. So let's describe what we should be experiencing. And people go, oh, you shouldn't use the word should. I'm like, why not? Let's talk about what the body's capable of providing for us. We should be able to wake up feeling refreshed and have energy to get through the day. We should feel not an exhaustion point to fall asleep or pass out because we've taken alcohol or some other thing. We should be able to just fall asleep naturally, remember our dreams, and have enough clarity of mind and thought to do the work that we need to do, and also have time for family and fun and activity. Like, we should be
Right.
strong. We should be able to work out and see a result in those workouts. If they're not, if you're plateauing, that's another sign you have mineral imbalances. If you've plateaued, you've got things going on you don't know about. So, well, before we wrap up, let's add to that. Like, what is the ideal situation for a body that a person can get to?
I
Food
think
will
you
energize.
mentioned
Food will
what was
energize.
that, Leslie?
Will exercise. Go ahead, Heather.
I was gonna say, not just mental clarity, but stability of mood.
Yes.
To have, because I know from experience, mood. And you're stable. We had an argument in our family this last weekend, and I live with a very big Italian Irish family, and we live on kind of a compound. They're all here, and so there was an argument, and I was just making, some tea for everybody, and they're arguing and doing their thing, and so the argument was over, and people had stormed out of the room, and I just went around and found everybody and gave them their tea, and they're like, "Well, are you upset?" I'm like, "Oh no, your argument's not going to affect me. I'm just making some tea and I'm going to enjoy my day. I'm in a good mood." So, and that was 2 days ago. So, so that I was never able to do that. I do pick up on emotions of people, but it doesn't affect me so negatively, or, I can stay stable. So I think if your mood can stay stable, and like Eva mentioned, all kinds of other things there too, falling asleep well. I'm trying to think if there's having an appetite, being able to eat foods. That's a big one, because we have lots of people with gut issues. We are trained on that. We have, all of us have some experience with that too. So gut, you should be able to eat. You should be able to go to the bathroom. These are all things, have bowel movement, all these things. So those are all signs of health.
Mhm.
Leslie, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think feeling sick when you eat bad food.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a sign of health.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you can taste really good food. You can really taste it and enjoy good food thoroughly. And I said in the beginning, I was kind of jumped the gun there, but food is fuel. So it should fuel our energy, not put us straight to sleep. And exercise is supposed to, when done correctly, would give us more energy again, not make us have to sleep for 4 hours afterwards to recover from it. So those are just two added pieces that came to mind. Restful sleep, you can sleep through the night. You recognize when you're tired, and you recognize you pay attention to your energy levels. So when you're tired or your energy is low, you stop to care for yourself. That's a sign of healing. Because we don't take care of our bodies, where are we going to live? So we take care of ourselves, right? And then we can take care of others, those kinds of things. And I like that mood stability, because I used to be whoop, 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 whoop. Sugar would really impact me like, wow, baby. Up and down, not so much anymore, but I don't eat so much like I did.
Well, that's a perspective viewpoint also too. When you have more energy, it's easier to overcome the little hurdles of life that previously, when you're out of energy, you don't have the energy to spend. So they seem much bigger than they are. That's when we make mountains out of molehills, right?
Yes.
So yeah, and then there's a whole, and I would love to do a whole talk on this, is how it develops your personality and your spiritual side. Like if you are a gifted person, or on a spectrum that, like me, you like to play in the metaphysical space, toxic metals and viruses that are bumping around in the body causing inflammation, they can actually suppress your gifts. So mine skyrocketed and blossomed as soon as I got on the program, and it's been an amazing journey since. So we'll talk about that at a later episode. But for right now, I think we're going to wrap up.
I want to say one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
So just one thing is that we will start with you where you're at. I know we're saying a lot of things and where you should be and all these kinds of things, but it takes time. It's not a quick fix. This takes a while, and we'd start wherever you need to start at. Because I know, like for me, I couldn't do everything. I was asked to do coffee enemas. I couldn't get down on the floor. I had no energy. Saunas, that heat. I mean, I was in tears just thinking of trying to sit up. So, you have to start. We will start. All of us know that and we had to do the same thing. We will start with we'll crawl with you if you need to crawl, walk with you if you need to walk, run with you if you need to run.
Yeah, I like that. It's true.
Yeah, good. And especially if you think you don't have any symptoms, we're going to call you on your BS. So
keep it real, Eva. Keep it real. I love it.
So, all right, that's it for this episode of The Perfect Balance, where we discover your symptoms are not the problem. And I am Eva Vennari with the Elevate Institute.
I'm Dr. Heather Kneale with Global Nutritional Healing.
And Leslie Brown with the Mineral Balancing Group.